Hey there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll get started here in 60 seconds. In the meantime, let me know where you're tuning in from. It's a summer robe kind of day, pushing 90 degrees. We're going to look at the broader stock market. We're going to look at Bitcoin, some altcoins. We're going to look at the relative strength comparative to the stock market, which is standing out to me today. Welcome everybody that is new to the channel, coming from Benjamin Cohen's video that I did yesterday. Glad to have you. All over. France, Guatemala, UK, Norway, Germany, Dubai, Croatia, Virginia, Tipperary, Ireland. I need to get to Ireland real bad. All right, it's 2 o'clock. Let's do it. So I'll go through my rundown and then I'll look at the chat and answer any questions. And we'll take it from there. So we're starting with the S&P 500 because the S&P 500 and Bitcoin had the same setup. As I talked about in the video yesterday, after market close, the 12-hour time frame is where I was finding clarity, and I needed 12-hour trend changes for any kind of confidence that we were going to see some bounce follow through. And we were looking for inverse head and shoulders to shape up. So this is the S&P 500, and you can see that we confirmed a 12-hour trend change with the higher low and higher high. At this point, if we are going to see follow through, this resistance level is the high of the FOMC reaction a week ago from today, last Wednesday. That level needs to break if we're going to see follow through. So right now, the S&P 500 is attempting an hourly bull flag. So it's strong. It had a strong morning and it's holding its gains. If we break this low, it would be a red flag. If we see a new high of the day, that's a good sign for the bulls into the close. So I need to see the break of that high of Wednesday, last Wednesday, following along here. That has to happen tomorrow. And that is still 1.4% away or so. So keeping an eye on that resistance level, if that breaks, it's going to increase my confidence that a weekly bounce is coming. Keeping in mind that we have a lot of space to just form a weekly lower high. I'm not looking for any kind of big long-term bottom. I'm taking it one day at a time, and I'm watching for signs that a weekly bounce is shaping up in the broader market. There are other factors that we use along with just the S&P 500 chart and the NASDAQ chart. We look at other things. We look at the dollar. The dollar had a 12-hour equilibrium that broke bear. That bear break doesn't have follow through at this point, but that's a little tally in point of favor of market bulls because we know the markets generally have been inverse to the dollar recently, and a market bull, whether you're crypto, stocks, whatever, you want to see the dollar roll over into fresh lows here, because that would be a weekly bull break straight into a consolidation, which we would then say that's a bull break with no follow through. Bulls are perhaps getting a little bit tired. That remains to be seen because we do still have a daily uptrend. But again, it's one of the clues we're looking at. The 10-year is another clue that we're looking at. It confirmed a daily downtrend. Again, inverse to markets, where if I am a stock or crypto bull, I want weakness in the 10-year. It is now seeing weekly consolidation. It's a bull break with no follow through. Still a weekly uptrend, however. And another one is the VIX. The VIX is a tightening weekly equilibrium. That's going to break sometime within the next 5 weeks or so. So not really entirely relevant in the short term. But those are the main things that I look at when I'm trying to determine, can this bounce see follow through or not? So with that backdrop, I can say, okay, S&P 500 bulls bought the dip, solid morning, heading up to test the high of the day, second resistance level, getting closer and closer. But the big but is Bitcoin is a lot weaker today than the broader stock market. This is what Bitcoin's 12-hour time frame looks like. We topped out almost at the same time. We started the consolidation at almost the same time. We don't have the trend change here. We don't have the higher low and higher high. Doesn't mean we can't eventually get it, but this is a big tally in point of the bears. And what I mean by tally is when we look at a chart, we want to analyze things unbiased and make a list, whether it's a mental list or an actual list, and tally, is this bullish or bearish, and see who's coming out on top. And so this one, a bearish correlation to the broader stock market, is a bear tally for Bitcoin today. And again, the chart that I talked about on that video yesterday with Benjamin Cohen, I was looking at Bitcoin BTC USD divided by NAS 100 USD. This shows us Bitcoin divided by the NASDAQ, and it shows us nothing but weakness today. You get comfortable enough with these correlations that you don't need this chart to tell you that. For example, I can just look at the both 12-hour time frames and give you that information. It jumps out at you once you know what you're looking for. But if that's not the case yet, you look at this chart and say, okay, well, it's in a downtrend. And so that tells me that Bitcoin has been weak comparative to the broader stock market for the last 24 hours plus. We're pulling back. So what do we need? We need the same 12-hour trend change. We need it on BTC USD, and Bitcoin divided by the NASDAQ has to see the 12-hour trend change for both of them. So if I'm a bear, I'm comfortable in crypto right now. If we break 21.7 thousand, I'm less comfortable, because again, if that level breaks, the probability for me that we're going to see weekly bounces play out in these alts that are so crushed, and of course in Bitcoin, would increase significantly. My probability needle of what I'm looking for would shift into more probable that we see weekly bounce follow through. Again, just looking for a weekly lower high, Bitcoin can bounce another 40% and be in a weekly lower high pattern still. So I'm not caring about calling any kind of macro bottoms. All I'm looking at is today's action and looking out in the short-term future, trying to see, is a weekly bounce shaping up? If we do not break 21.7, the answer is no. We have no weekly bounce. If we break it, the answer is okay, it's shaping up now. And at that point, I would have a lot more confidence. So that's what we're watching over the next couple of days, whether or not that can play out. Hourly time frame, we had a bear break this morning with no follow through. So I'm just sticking to the 12-hour because that's where I am most clear right now. And I did add back a little bit of Ethereum today. And again, just to review the trade that I've been making here, had a starter on Ethereum too early at 12.16, doubled it down at 10.67, tripled it down at, nope, my numbers are wrong, 9.67, tripled it down at 8.85. And again, that's not just me scaling in and averaging down, trying to bail out of a red trade. That was all part of the game plan. So in advance, I knew I'm going to be scaling in into this significant weakness, looking for a climax bottom. Those are two very different things. A pre-made game plan for scaling in and no game plan for scaling in, but you're still averaging down. If you're doing it without a game plan, it's a big red flag and it's a great way to compound your losses. If it's part of the game plan, it's completely different. So got those entries and then scaled out 3/4, maybe 2/3 to 3/4 of that position and sold on the way up. So sold some in the mid 10s, sold some 11.30 or so. And so I just re-entered this morning some at 10.82. And it was seeing an hourly defense of this support. So I added some back at 10.82. And here we are right now at 10.82. So also have to keep in mind, whatever I'm doing in crypto is a piece of the puzzle of what I'm doing in markets. So right now I'm net short the stock market just from today's day trading. You know, I've got a good short position on a psychedelic name, CMPS. I covered my NIO short already. So I had a little bit more short exposure, which again has to be taken into account here because they're so correlated. So if I'm in a bull crypto position that is dropping, but I'm in a stock position that is short and I'm making more in my stock, you know, it's almost like a hedge. So whenever I'm talking about my crypto positions and what I'm doing in my trades, I have to talk about stocks as well because it is completely interrelated, and the decisions that I'm making in crypto are absolutely being influenced by what I'm doing in the stock market as well. So I rescaled in one position. I'm not fully back into what I want, but I'm not going to enter anymore until we have a clear 12-hour high or low. Because right now, what my position stop is based on is this low. I don't have a stop anywhere nearby here. And initially, the position I had remaining, let's call it the quarter position I had remaining, because I scaled out on the way up, my break even was under the low. But now that I've added some back, I'm increasing what my break even price is. And so I have less comfort, but I have a more sizable position if this bounce does follow through. So just to go back to it, I'm not going to add anything until a 12-hour high or low is set, because then my stop loss goes off that level. As opposed to being off of a level that's 20% away, I then now have a much closer level. So if my risk and reward of the trade is going to then be balanced, I have way less risk because I have a much closer stop level, and that means I can increase my position size even more. So I would probably add into strength at this point. Once we see the 12-hour high or low set, I move up my stop to under that level with some wiggle room, and then I would add into strength. No more adding into weakness for me on this current pullback. And ETH BTC needs a 12-hour high or low as well. We're sideways here, and why am I focusing on Ethereum and not Bitcoin? I have a little bit of exposure in both, but more in Ethereum. And that's because if we're going to see a weekly bounce play out in alts, in my opinion, the BTC pairings are going to be seeing a weekly bounce play out as well. And that would mean that alts are outperforming Bitcoin. So that's what I'm looking for to happen. But Ethereum, ETH BTC, I should say, is just tightening up here in an equilibrium. Have to hold a higher low here compared to 499. And then this would have to break bull for this trade to end up ideal. So we need a 12-hour trend change for the bulls. We need the ETH BTC bull break of this range. So this is all, the analysis I'm doing right now is from a bull's perspective, and I will flip it here and we'll give it from a bear's perspective in just a moment. But again, I am looking for weekly bounces. That is my thesis until it is proven wrong. I am protecting with some bearish stock positions because I only have crypto long exposure, but I've got some stock short exposure at the moment. Speaking of which, there's a new ETF, BITI, which is a short Bitcoin. Look at the volume pickup. So getting some significant volume in here. This is now maybe $24 million traded today. But this is a new instrument that I will utilize and for day trading. I wouldn't want to swing. The problem with stock instruments that trade based off crypto, if I'm swing trading it, I'm literally choosing to have my hands tied for 12 hours, more than that, 16 hours of the day, while crypto is going to be trading overnight. So I really don't like that fact. So it's a day trading instrument for me. And we're going to be looking for an hourly high or low on BITI, anything above the low of the day, 39.83. But again, just a new instrument, and it's starting to get enough volume that it's going to be, if this volume keeps coming in, it's going to be a decent trader. Just something to keep an eye on. So from a bear perspective, the bear perspective is bears do not have a thing to worry about as long as the top of the bounce remains. Because I look at this daily chart and I say, is Bitcoin a potential daily bear flag? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Look at the retracement, 382. We haven't even come close to a 382 retracement. The probability of a bear flag becomes a lot less likely if we hold the low and break the high of the bounce. Which again would be, whether you're looking at the daily or the 12-hour, I like the 12-hour just because it's twice as many candles, a little bit more detail, but it's showing us the same thing as the daily chart. If Bitcoin can turn around, or I should say if it cannot turn around and break 21.7, a bear does not have anything to worry about. Swing trading bear, there's someone out there that is a swing trading bear and is walking down their stop with every 12-hour lower high. And if we do not break the 12-hour lower highs, they're not going to stop out. So that is what I'm looking at in the short term. We need we need a recovery from the bulls here. We can see a little bit of a bounce. It's a good sign that we broke bear with no follow through. It's a good sign that the stock market is testing the high of the day. We just broke the high of the day on SPY. What is not a good sign is the bearish correlation to the stock market. That has to change. If the broader stock market breaks the highs of last week's FOMC reaction, my probability needle, I already said it, of weekly bounces for crypto increases. So it's all about the top of the bounce at this point. And that's the prove it level. Prove it, bulls. Prove to me that you can see any follow through. A bear is taunting the bulls right now, saying, yeah, nice bounce. All right, we were oversold. We know you're going to bounce in oversold conditions. Can you follow through? I don't think you can. And right now they haven't. That remains on the table for the next day or two. Can we set the 12-hour high or low and break resistance? Right now, the 12-hour retracement, no red flags. We haven't given back half of the move. If we drop 50% plus retracement, giving back more than half of the bounce that we've seen, then it becomes a bear tally, a tally in the bear column in terms of the amount of retracement. Right now, the retracement is about 45% off of the high. So some other altcoins, Sand had a big bull move this morning, but pulling back. Bull break with no follow through has me keeping an eye on this uptrending resistance line. Bigger picture, I'm watching this Sand. Was it Sand's falling wedge? No, it wasn't Sand. So Sand did the 12-hour trend change. Sand did exactly what every single crypto bull wants to see happen. We failed resistance. 98 cents was resistance. We top out at 96.6. We form a higher low and we break resistance. Granted, we didn't see a whole bunch of follow through because we then saw Bitcoin weakness right after that. We're shaping up an hourly equilibrium on Sand. But the 12-hour time frame this morning on Sand did what every single bull wants to see happen. So right now on Sand, we're going to be looking for an hourly lower high, anything under 1017, and watching for the potential of a tightening range here. Curious what SHIB. SHIB stood out yesterday as a lead bull. Nice. This is a nice equilibrium as well. We're forming some nice equilibriums here. So higher low on the 4-hour, lower high. Now bulls trying to hold 927. This tightening range is going to break sometime within the next 12 hours or so, and we're going to see some volatility return. The bulls keep control as long as 4-hour EMA 12 support holds. Some other alts that I'm keeping an eye on. Ooh, Adam just made a move in the last hour. Let's check it. So again, here's another one. The more altcoins that do this, the higher the probability that Bitcoin and everybody is going to do it. Same inverse head and shoulders on the 12-hour bull flag confirmed. They're popping one at a time here. Sand did it. How many hours ago? 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago, Sand did it. Adam has now done it. An hour ago. So that's 2. Do we keep seeing more and more pull it off? That remains to be seen. Matic is trying. Matic is trying to be number 3. 12-hour bull flag is shaping up. Whenever I'm playing a bull flag, again, the only stop level that you have on the 12-hour time frame is 316 before the 12-hour higher low is set. As soon as that 12-hour higher low is set, 394 can now be your stop level. Because if we do not confirm the bull flag and roll over, it's a big red flag for bulls. But an aggressive bull is now playing off of this level and adding to their position for the potential that it follows along with those other names, with the trend change confirming for follow through. So that's why I mentioned, when Bitcoin and when Ethereum, when they give us these 12-hour higher lows, that's when I'm more comfortable adding because I have that closer stop level nearby. GMT, much different look, but healthy 12-hour consolidation at this point. Mana is getting real tight. Mana is keeping up this potential falling wedge here, but again, it's the same thing. The 12-hour is attempting the trend change here, and so far it's failing. BNB is trying for a 12-hour bull flag. So many names have this 12-hour higher low attempt. We need Bitcoin to obviously do it as well to have confidence. So that's the setup. That's where I'm finding clarity. What I just did is how I determine what time frame is most clear for me in the short term. Sometimes it's the 4-hour, sometimes it's the 12-hour. And in this instance, it's the 12-hour. The lead alt bulls are already breaking resistance. Most names are not. Bitcoin has to do it as well if we're going to be looking for follow through. Burning on bulls. But it's still on the table. It's still definitely a possibility. You know, I don't see any major red flags. The biggest red flag for me with my thesis of looking for weekly bounces is the broader market weakness today. That definitely is not ideal. But we can stay weaker than the broader market if the broader market just keeps going up. We're just going to go up, at least initially, we're going to be going up slower, which again is not ideal, but I will have a big red flag if I start to see weakness in the broader stock market while we remain weaker, relatively weaker. But again, if SPY just heads up and breaks this, and I use SPY and the S&P 500 futures chart interchangeably, but I guess we'll just stick to the S&P 500. It's easier for me to do math in my head for SPY. You know, what percent away are we? Less than 1%. It's a lot easier for me to do that math than the thousands numbers of the futures chart. But again, less than 1% now. If we break that level, my probability needle goes up. All right, I'm now reading the chat room. What you talking about? Solana, yes, a lot of people looking at Sol, 12-hour. So now that I have, you know, a firm grasp of clarity for me on the 12-hour for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of coins, I can then very easily look at individual altcoins and say, how does this compare? How is it different? I can see Sol is a much different setup because we're already in a clear 12-hour uptrend. It's similar in the sense that we're looking for a 12-hour high or low right now. It's a potential 12-hour bull flag due to the size of the retracement on this pullback. It was a little bit more than the bulls would like, but a simple statement would be, if Sol bulls can keep 12-hour EMA 12 as support, which it's testing and these lower wicks are holding, then this consolidation remains very healthy. If we lose that 12-hour EMA support, then we're starting to look at the possibility of an equilibrium. If we can form the higher low here, we're looking for continuation. If we see another leg down before we form a higher low, then we have the possibility of that tightening range. And again, look at our YouTube video. For those of you that are new to our channel, we got 9,000 videos on our channel. A lot of them, you know, fall to the wayside once that day is no longer relevant, but there's a ton of educational content. Check out all of our playlists, our psychology playlist, you know, patience with trading, how I trade crypto breakdowns. The video I'm referring to is our Fibonacci video. The Fibonacci's in terms of measuring retracements to help us determine probabilities, whether it's a flag or an equilibrium. So check out that video. Litecoin is all about LTC BTC for me. If this is a daily bull flag that confirms, it will be extremely notable because the bull moves that we've seen in the past don't follow through with higher lows and higher highs. They get their fast hard pop and then they fade for months. So if we get this fast hard pop and then a bull flag into continuation, I will be looking at this and saying, this is a bit different. And again, the weekly, we've been setting weekly lower highs on LTC, BTC for a very long time, over a year. And if we confirm a daily trend change and break some of these weekly lower highs, again, it will stand out as different. Where every other time was just a lower high, this time we'll be breaking some lower highs. So bulls still have to prove it with the daily higher low and continuation move. It won't happen unless we, again, if this were to happen, then we would have a lot more confidence that Litecoin weekly bounce is going to be underway, and which it already is. I mean, Litecoin, well, not officially. We haven't broken the high of last week yet. Matic, is Matic doing it while we're live here? It's almost doing it. Number 3, it's trying. One at a time. If I'm a bull here, you know, I don't prefer one at a time. I would rather have everybody, the entire sector, doing it in unison. But that's not what we have. Miners were a lot stronger the past couple of days, and they're a lot weaker today. MARA divided by BTC USD shows us, MARA has been gaining relative strength against Bitcoin even today. I mean, it's a little red, but not by much. But we can say over the last, again, these correlation charts, relative strength, relative weakness are so helpful because I can look at this and easily see that MARA has been gaining relative strength comparative to Bitcoin for the last 6 days. Today's a little step back, but not significant. Riot divided by BTC USD. So a lot more clear that today it's weaker, but the previous 6 days, stronger. So just evening out a little bit is how I would view it. Leading for 5-6 days, now lagging today. So the VIX, what I'm looking for on the VIX here is, do we confirm a weekly lower high? Right now it's a weekly inside bar. How this breaks is going to have very significant implications. If this breaks bear, I have a lot more confidence in broader stock market bounce follow through, which by default means crypto bounce follow through. If this breaks bull, then we're dumping to fresh lows and fear is on the menu. And again, this is just one tool, just like the dollar, just like the 10-year. It's one of the tools that we can use for little clues. Each one's a little puzzle piece and we put them all together to get the scope of the bigger picture. So the VIX is not giving me any information right now. I mean, it's red today. The broader market's green. All right, that's obvious. But how we break this weekly equilibrium will be key. It's been forming for months. Thoughts on targets? So if we do get weekly bounces, my target always initially is EMA resistance. So EMA 12 on Bitcoin is currently 30,000, but once this weekly candle rolls over, it's going to drop down to maybe 29.2 or something. That's just a wild guess, but it's going to drop down fairly notably, and it's going to keep dropping down. So if this bounce, again, if we just get a bounce for a couple weeks, that EMA 12 over those couple weeks will be dropping down towards 27,000 or so. And again, when even a weak bounce, I've said this recently, but even a weak bounce on the weekly time frame, let's just look at Ethereum and the size of this drop. A weekly bounce, and that's where there's so much disconnect in communication. Bear, if I say a weekly bounce, a bear, there's not a bottom, we're going so much lower, Ethereum to 400. Well, okay, you can have a target of Ethereum for 400. Do you really think we're just going to waterfall drop there? No, there's bounces in bear markets. We're going to bounce. We can bounce and go 30% and just be a lower high weekly bear flag. So quit being so quick to dismiss anything that is not completely lining up with exactly what you're saying, because I could potentially agree with you. If a weekly bounce plays out and it goes to 1,500 and then tops out, and I see other signals in the stock market that show me weakness, then yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about it being a bear flag and the possibility that we're heading for another leg down. For me, it's just, again, looking in the short term. A weekly bounce on ETH could be 80% off our low. That would still be very weak. So for Bitcoin, I would say a weekly bounce. Let's just say we get a weekly inside bar. We still have four days to go. We get a weekly inside bar and it breaks bull. The weekly bounce is underway. A week bounce would be 25,000. So Matic is now testing that resistance. 455. We just hit 453 on Binance. Tesla had a big bull day yesterday, but we're not talking stocks. I talk stocks in the end of the day video, which I will talk about Tesla in through 2 hours. CRV, 12 hour, trying for the inverse head and shoulders, big upper wick, so an initial rejection. So that's not ideal. If we were to drop down and break 682 support, that would be a big red flag for a failed 12-hour bull flag. We failed to confirm the 12-hour bull flag. It's still possible to salvage this attempt and break it later, but if you lose that 4-hour support, it's then a fail. You fail if that level breaks. So we failed, but it's still possible. 682 must hold. Coin, still puttering along. Again, the daily bounce is not entirely convincing. We did hold the weekly support, so I'm viewing this as a low of 40.83. High of the bounce was 83.32. A weekly higher low is set at 46, but anything under 83.32 is just a weekly lower high. The weekly lower highs have been very consistent since 368. So that's what matters most to me. If we keep setting weekly lower highs, we're not going anywhere bigger picture. But bulls did at least defend support initially here. Bitcoin, we're looking for an hourly lower high to be the result of this current bounce, because anything under 28.9 is an hourly lower high. And if we drop to a fresh lower low from here, then our retracement heads towards 50%. And that would be a point in favor of the bears, in terms of bears want to see as much retracement as possible, because for every 10% further retracement, it's that much more difficult to get back to the high to confirm a trend change. Couple more. Theta. So we broke 138. Wow, where is the clarity here? Not on the 12-hour. So we're in a daily uptrend with zero follow through. We're just chopping around a lot here over the last few weeks, trying to build a base of support. I need to see a break of 149. If we get over that level, it'll be notable. It'll be the highest price that we've seen in 6 weeks. But if we don't get over that level, we know bulls aren't going anywhere. So when I look at that chart and I see a whole bunch of chop, I pinpoint the most important level and say, okay, well, we have not broken that level, and we've been trading within this range for the last 5-6 weeks. That is a must break for bulls to prove anything. Otherwise, bears keep complete control. Again, put your different glasses on. If you're a bull and you want Theta to bounce, take off your bull glasses, put on your bear glasses, and say, if I'm a bear, how am I viewing this setup? What would make me nervous? What would make me cover my short? What would keep me comfortable and have me add to my short? That helps us see both perspectives to prevent from, ideally, too much bias in one direction. So I already know, my thesis is looking for altcoin weekly bounces, and I know what will invalidate it. A too significant retracement on the 12-hour, the broader stock market, losing the hourly uptrend without being able to break the high of FOMC Wednesday. The dollar seeing a bull break to test recent highs. These are all things that would make my thesis less likely. Audio. What is the reason I do these streams? At this point, routine. I don't know, I just like talking about charts. It helps me. It helps me too. I benefit. I put in extra time to be looking at different things. There's so many times where I'll make a video and then it will help make me money later, because I see things and I have to talk out loud and I get outside my head. It's so important to get outside of your head. Write things down. Talk out loud. Talk to a friend. Teach someone who knows less about technical analysis than you. Teach them what you know. It will make you a better trader, I promise. The trader that I am, since starting the Chart Guys, not even in the same league as who I was before. Audio. Daily bounce is very notable. That's a lot of volume. So weekly bounce is underway. Weekly stair-step drop with a lower high every, well, not exactly, but pretty much a lower high every single candle. Weekly bounce underway. Watching weekly EMA 12 resistance, which is a long ways away. 462 is a key resistance level. The goal for the bulls from here is maintain the 4-hour higher lows as long as possible. And we've been setting 4-hour higher lows for a while now. Next time we pull back, have to keep that going to keep this breakout going. But the volume, certainly notable today. And it had a very similar 12-hour inverse head and shoulders. The difference is this resistance level was higher than the left neckline, but it is still an inverse head and shoulders by definition. Matic confirming a bull break. So it's now number 3. No follow through yet, but we'll call it number 3 altcoin that's had the 12-hour continuation move. All right, I appreciate you all tuning in. I'll see you in the broader stock market video. Again, that will be relevant to crypto. I won't specifically be talking about crypto a whole lot, if at all. But we know how important that broader market is. We'll see how we close in stocks. Another hour, 25 minutes to go. Have to set 12-hour higher lows on Bitcoin. Give us new support levels nearby for bulls to try and play off of. And the more altcoins that do what Atom, Sand, and Matic have already done, the more our bull probability needle will shift that Bitcoin will do it as well. Thanks again, friends. Gonna be busy this weekend. We got a meetup. We got like 50 chart guys coming to town. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. Cookouts and river hikes and swimming and ping pong, Papadosio show. So I'm gonna be busy. So I doubt I'll put out a live stream on Friday as I usually do, but we'll see. Have a good day, do good things.